The invitation to the French Embassy's annual gala arrived on thick cream cardstock with gold embossing. Miss Sophie Laurent, personal guest of Ambassador Laurent. Below in smaller script, black tie required. Security clearance necessary. I texted my mother a photo of the invitation. Her response came 20 minutes later. That's nice, dear. We'll be attending as well. Your father's firm represents several European companies. Perhaps we'll see you there. No questions about why I'd been personally invited by the French ambassador. No curiosity about my connection to him. Just the usual dismissive acknowledgment that I existed somewhere on the periphery of their important lives. At 27, I'd grown accustomed to being the family afterthought. My older sister Clarissa was a corporate litigation attorney who'd made partner at 32. My younger brother Nathan worked in international finance and spent half his time in London and Dubai. They were sophisticated, successful, exactly what our parents had envisioned. I was Sophie Laurent, though my family still called me Sophie Martin, refusing to acknowledge that I'd legally changed my surname 3 years ago. I worked in translation services, according to my mother's vague explanations to her friends, a description that made it sound like I worked at a mall kiosk helping tourists. What they didn't know was that I was a senior diplomatic interpreter for the State Department. I'd worked at the United Nations, interpreted for 3 presidential summits, and was one of 12 people in the country certified for top-level security translations in French, Arabic, and Mandarin. I made $160,000 annually, had been recruited by 5 different intelligence agencies, and held a security clearance most people didn't know existed. I'd also been privately adopted by Ambassador Jean-Marc Laurent and his wife Veronique 2 years ago, following a formal French legal process. They were in their 60s, had lost their only daughter to cancer 5 years earlier, and had become my family in every way that mattered after we'd worked together during a diplomatic crisis in Geneva. My biological family knew none of this. They knew I'd spent time in France, assumed it was some extended vacation or language study program. They'd never asked for details. I'd also been financially supporting my parents for 4 years. $6,000 monthly deposits they called investment returns from money they'd supposedly put into my education. In reality, my father's law practice was struggling, and my mother's consulting business existed mostly on paper. Their luxury lifestyle ran primarily on my salary and occasional contributions from Clarissa. 3 days before the embassy ball, Clarissa called. Mom said you're going to the French Embassy Gala? Yes. I was invited. By whom? These events are extremely exclusive. You can't just buy tickets. I was invited by Ambassador Laurent personally. Pause. You mean you're translating at the event? That makes sense. Though I'm surprised they let service staff attend the actual ball. Usually interpreters work behind the scenes. I closed my eyes. I'm attending as a guest, Clarissa. Right. Well, we'll be there representing Dad's firm. Several major clients will be present, so please don't approach us for chit-chat. These events are for professional networking, not family reunions. I'm sure you understand. Perfectly. And Sophie? Try to dress appropriately. I know you probably don't own formal gowns, but embassy events have strict dress codes. Maybe rent something? I'd hate for you to be turned away at the door. She hung up before I could respond. What Clarissa didn't know was that Veronique Laurent had taken me shopping in Paris last month, personally selecting a custom Chanel gown that had cost more than my car. For the embassy ball, she'd insisted. You must look like the daughter of a French ambassador. The night of the gala, I arrived at the embassy gates at 7:45 p.m. The building was spectacular. Illuminated columns, French and American flags, luxury cars lined up as guests arrived. Security was heavy with multiple checkpoints and credential verification. I approached the first security station where a guard checked his tablet. Name. Sophie Laurent. He scrolled through his list, then nodded. You're on the VIP list. Please proceed to the main entrance. Someone will escort you inside. As I walked toward the next checkpoint, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Excuse me, that woman, she's not on any guest list. I turned. Clarissa stood at the security gate with my parents and Nathan, all dressed immaculately. My father wore an expensive tuxedo. My mother's gown was elegant but trying too hard. Clarissa looked polished and professional. The security guard looked confused. Ma'am, I just cleared her. She's on the VIP list. That's impossible, Clarissa insisted. I don't know who she is or how she got an invitation, but she's definitely not a VIP guest. She probably works for the catering company or translation services. My mother stepped forward, squinting at me in the dim light. Wait, Clarissa, is that Sophie? What? Oh. Sophie doesn't attend events like this. It looks like her, Nathan said. Sophie? What are you doing here? I walked back to the security gate. Hello, everyone. Clarissa's face went through several expressions. Recognition, confusion, then alarm. Sophie, what are you doing at the embassy gate? If you're working tonight, the service entrance is around back. I'm not working. I'm attending. My father laughed uncomfortably. That's not possible. These invitations are extremely exclusive. They're not given to... He stopped himself. Not given to what, Dad? People like me? Not given to people without significant professional credentials or diplomatic connections, he finished. There must be some misunderstanding. The security guard looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. Another guard approached, older, more senior. Is there a problem? These people are claiming this woman isn't supposed to be here, the first guard explained, gesturing at me. But she's on the ambassador's personal VIP list. The senior guard checked his tablet, then looked at me with recognition. Ms. Laurent, I apologize for the delay. The ambassador asked us to notify him immediately upon your arrival. Please come with me. Wait, Clarissa said. That's my sister. She's not. There's obviously been a mistake. Her name isn't Laurent, it's Martin. Sophie Martin. My legal name is Sophie Laurent, I said quietly. I changed it 3 years ago. My mother's face went pale. You changed your name? Why would you? When did? I'll explain later. I need to go inside. Hold on, my father said, his lawyer voice emerging. If you're attending as a guest, we should go in together. The Martins present a united family front at these events. The Martins told security they didn't know me, I said. That seems pretty clear. I followed the senior guard through the checkpoint, leaving my family arguing with security behind me. The embassy's interior was breathtaking. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, French artwork on every wall. A string quartet played in the main hall where about 200 guests mingled. Diplomats, politicians, business leaders, artists, and intellectuals. The senior guard led me through the crowd to a private reception room where Ambassador Laurent stood speaking with several officials. When he saw me, his entire face lit up. Sophie. Ma chérie. He crossed the room and embraced me warmly, kissing both my cheeks in the French manner. You look absolutely stunning. Veronique will be so pleased. That gown is perfection. Thank you, Papa. The word came naturally now, though it had felt strange for months after the adoption. He kept his arm around my shoulders, turning to the group he'd been speaking with. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce my daughter, Sophie Laurent. She's one of the State Department's finest diplomatic interpreters. Her work during the Geneva negotiations was absolutely crucial. A distinguished man in his 50s extended his hand. Sophie, I'm Secretary Morrison from the State Department. Your reputation precedes you. The translation work you did during the Chinese trade talks was exemplary. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And humble too, Ambassador Laurent said proudly. She refuses to take credit for anything. Last month she interpreted for the UN Security Council during a crisis session. 16 hours straight, 3 languages. The Secretary General specifically commended her work. We spoke for several minutes about various diplomatic initiatives. Ambassador Laurent introduced me to the French Foreign Minister, 2 senators, and a Supreme Court justice. Each conversation reinforced what my family had never understood. I wasn't an afterthought in these circles. I was respected, valued, essential. At 8:30 p.m. Ambassador Laurent and I moved into the main ballroom. The crowd was larger now, easily 300 people. I spotted my family near the bar. My father networking with a group of executives, Clarissa speaking intensely with a colleague, my mother and Nathan scanning the room for important people to approach. Veronique Laurent found us immediately. Ma fille. She embraced me, her perfume familiar and comforting. You are absolutely radiant. Jean-Marc, doesn't she look like a true daughter of France? She looks perfect, he agreed. Now come, we have people who specifically asked to meet you. For the next hour I was introduced to an astonishing array of powerful people. The Canadian ambassador praised my interpretation work at the G7 summit. A French senator discussed my analysis of trade policy. The CEO of an international development organization asked if I'd consider joining their board. My family watched from a distance, their expressions cycling through confusion, disbelief, and something approaching panic. At 9:30 p.m., Ambassador Laurent took the stage for his official remarks. The room quieted as he spoke about French-American relations, cultural exchange, and diplomatic cooperation. Then his tone shifted, becoming more personal. Before we continue the evening's festivities, I want to share something close to my heart. 2 years ago, I had the privilege of working with an extraordinary young woman during a difficult diplomatic crisis in Geneva. Her skill, her dedication, and her character reminded me so much of my late daughter Isabel that my wife and I couldn't help but love her. My breath caught. I hadn't known he planned to mention this publicly. That young woman is here tonight. Sophie Laurent, my adopted daughter and one of the finest diplomatic interpreters in the world. Sophie, would you join me? Every eye in the room turned toward me. I walked to the stage, my legs steady despite my racing heart. Ambassador Laurent embraced me again, holding me close. Sophie represents the best of both our nations, he continued. She bridges languages, cultures, and conflicts with grace and intelligence. I am honored to call her my daughter, and France is fortunate to claim her as one of our own. The applause was thunderous. As it faded, I looked out at the crowd and found my family. They stood frozen near the bar, faces pale, champagne glasses forgotten. My mother's mouth was literally hanging open. Clarissa had gone completely white. Nathan stared like he'd never seen me before. My father's expression was unreadable. "Thank you, Papa," I said quietly into the microphone. "You and Veronique gave me something I'd been missing. A family that sees me." More applause. As I left the stage, dozens of people approached to congratulate me. The French foreign minister kissed my hand. 3 ambassadors from other nations asked for my contact information. A journalist from Le Monde requested an interview. My biological family tried to approach several times but couldn't get through the crowd surrounding me. I saw my mother attempting to push through, heard Clarissa explaining loudly to someone that, "That's actually my sister," watched my father frantically Googling something on his phone. At 10:45 p.m. they finally cornered me near the terrace. My mother spoke first, her voice unnaturally high. "Sophie, what is happening? The French ambassador adopted you? Why didn't you tell us?" "I did tell you. 2 years ago I mentioned I was spending time with Ambassador Laurent and his wife. You asked if I was finally dating someone, and seemed disappointed when I said no. You weren't interested in the details. You said you were in France," my father protested. "You didn't say you were being adopted by a French ambassador. You didn't ask what I was doing in France. You never ask about my life." Clarissa found her voice. "This is insane. You can't just, you're our sister. You can't replace us with some other family." "I didn't replace you. You never acted like family to begin with." Nathan looked uncomfortable. "That's not fair, Sophie. We've always were family. We love you. You denied knowing me at the security gate less than 3 hours ago." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "That was a misunderstanding. We didn't expect to see you there. We thought. You thought I was working as a translator. Because that's all you've ever thought I was capable of." A man approached. One of my father's clients, judging by the way my father straightened up. "Martin, I didn't know you were connected to the Laurent family. Your daughter just had the most fascinating conversation with the French foreign minister about trade policy. Very impressive." My father's smile was forced. "Yes, well, Sophie has always been, we're very proud." "She mentioned she works for the State Department? As a senior diplomatic interpreter? That must be quite prestigious." "Very prestigious," my father managed. "We've always supported her diplomatic career." The man turned to me. "Your father never mentioned you worked in diplomacy. I assumed you were in his law firm." "No," I said simply. "My father and I don't discuss my work much." After the man left, my father's expression darkened. "You just made me look like an idiot in front of a major client." I answered his question honestly. "If that made you look bad, perhaps you should examine why you've spent years telling people I work in translation services instead of acknowledging what I actually do." Veronique appeared at my elbow. Sophie, Sherry, the foreign minister is leaving and wants to say goodbye. Will you come? Of course, Maman. My biological mother flinched at the word. Maman? You call her Sophie, she's not your mother. I'm your mother. You're the woman who gave birth to me, I said quietly. Veronique is the mother who actually sees me, supports me, celebrates me. There's a difference. I walked away with Veronique, leaving my family standing in the middle of the embassy ballroom, surrounded by people who now knew exactly who I was and who they weren't. By Sunday morning, photos from the embassy gala had been published in several newspapers and diplomatic journals. Every image showed me with Ambassador Laurent, with foreign ministers, with important officials. The captions identified me as Sophie Laurent, senior diplomatic interpreter and daughter of French Ambassador Jean-Marc Laurent. My phone had 87 missed calls from family members. My mother left 12 voicemails, each more desperate than the last. Clarissa sent a long email about how humiliated she felt that I'd publicly rejected our family. Nathan texted that I was being cruel and dramatic. My father's email was the most telling. Several clients have asked why I never mention my daughter works for the State Department. This looks very bad for the firm. We need to discuss how to manage this situation. I didn't respond to any of them. The $6,000 monthly deposits into their account? Those stopped immediately. The lifestyle they'd built while dismissing my career as translating tourist menus? That began collapsing within weeks. Clarissa's law firm partners questioned why she'd never mentioned having a sister who worked at the highest levels of international diplomacy. My father's European clients were confused about why he'd failed to leverage his daughter's diplomatic connections. My mother's social circle was re-evaluating every dismissive comment she'd made about my career. The next month, Ambassador Laurent hosted a private dinner at his residence for family and close friends. Veronique and I cooked together, something we'd done dozens of times. Jean-Marc told embarrassing stories about my early days learning diplomatic protocol. We laughed, shared wine, celebrated nothing in particular except being together. My biological family learned that family isn't defined by DNA or legal documents written at birth. It's defined by who shows up, who sees you, who celebrates your success instead of dismissing it. They denied knowing me at the embassy gate, protecting their image by pretending I didn't exist. They were right to deny me. I didn't exist in their world anymore. I existed in a better one.